Okay, let's jump right in. Today we're doing a deep dive into the terror attack that happened on April 22nd, 2025 in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, Pahalgam, often called India's mini Switzerland. So beautiful. And then this horrific event happens there.
Exactly, it's that contrast that's so jarring. So our aim today is really to understand the sequence of events,
hmm
um, remember the victims, obviously, and look at how things unfolded immediately after nationally and internationally based on what we know.
Yeah, piece together the picture from the available
And
information.
the scale, I mean, at least 26 people lost their lives. Mostly tourists, which just adds another layer of tragedy. People there for peace and quiet.
It's truly awful. Reports point to Bicerin Valley, that really picturesque meadow in the Anantnag district, and it happened on a bright afternoon. Just makes it even harder to comprehend.
And the attackers. What do we know?
The information suggests 5 or 6 gunmen. They're linked apparently to the Resistance Front, or TRF, which, as reports indicate, is basically a shadow group for Lashkar-e-Taiba.
Ugh. Lashkar-e-Taiba. A name unfortunately very familiar in the region regarding attacks.
Yes, sadly. And there was a particularly chilling detail reported by survivors.
What was that?
Apparently, they singled out a Hindu tourist, asked his religion before targeting him. It adds this really disturbing sectarian element.
God, that's horrible. So the final count, 26 dead.
That's the number reported: 25 Indian citizens and 1 person from Nepal. Tourists, as you said, from places like Karnataka, Gujarat, just ordinary people on holiday.
And many injured, too.
Yes, over 20 people injured, some critically, which meant urgent medical care was vital. The attack itself sounded like just indiscriminate firing, targeting civilians, women, the elderly included. Just awful.
Now, Bison Valley,
Hmm.
it's not exactly easy to get to, is it?
No, not at all. It's quite remote. Rugged terrain, you basically have to go on foot or maybe horseback.
So that must have made the immediate rescue efforts incredibly difficult. Logistically, I mean.
Absolutely, a huge challenge.
Yeah.
But the response from security forces was reportedly quite fast. You had the Indian Army, the J&K Police, the CRPF, the Central Reserve Police Force, all deploying for an anti-terror operation pretty quickly.
Okay, so forces moving in. But what about the injured? Getting them out must have been tough.
Extremely tough. Ambulances were rushed to the nearest accessible points, obviously. But for the critical cases, they had to be airlifted, taken to GMC Anantnag and then on to Srinagar for more specialized treatment. A major medical evacuation under pressure.
And the political reaction, that started coming in fast too, didn't it?
Oh, immediately. The chief minister condemned it in really strong terms, called it an abomination, expressed solidarity with the families. The kind of statement you'd expect, but very necessary.
Right. And the lieutenant governor.
He vowed stern action, made it clear they'd pursue those responsible, and then you had the home minister actually traveling to Srinagar.
Really? To oversee things personally.
Seems so. Which definitely underscores how seriously the central government was taking this right from the start.
And it went even higher. The prime minister. Wasn't he abroad?
He was, yes, on a trip to Saudi Arabia. But he cut it short. Flew back to chair a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security.
Wow. Okay, that speaks volumes about the national significance of this attack.
Absolutely. Cutting short an international visit like that, it signals a major crisis. And beyond the official response, you just saw this huge wave of, well, grief and anger across India.
Yeah, it wasn't just a localized Kashmir issue in terms of reaction, was it?
Not at all. And one thing that really seemed significant was the local Kashmiri reaction.
You mean this shutdown?
Exactly. Reports of a rare shutdown in the valley itself. People condemning the attack, chanting "not in our name." That felt different, important.
That is significant. A public rejection from within the community. But there were other reactions too. Protests elsewhere.
Oh, yes. In Jammu, for instance. Various groups, including some like the Rashtriya Bajrang Dal, were out protesting, demanding justice. And the mourning was just nationwide.
Candlelight vigils.
Yes, vigils in Srinagar, in Jammu, but also protests reported across the country. Kolkata, Delhi, people everywhere were horrified and expressing it. A real moment of shared national shock. And that shock, that condemnation, it went global pretty quickly.
Right. International leaders started weighing in.
Yeah, you had U.S. President Donald Trump calling it a senseless act. Ursula von der Leyen from the EU termed it a vile terrorist attack. Strong words from major powers.
And others too.
Yes, condemnations came from Russia, from Saudi Arabia, where the PM had just been, ironically, and Afghanistan too. Offers of support, solidarity, The usual diplomatic language, but important nonetheless.
It shows a kind of global consensus against this sort of civilian targeting.
Definitely. And it was even marked at the UN. A moment of silence, condolences offered. It really registered as a major international incident.
Okay, so turning to the investigation side of things, did they identify suspects quickly?
Relatively quickly, yes. The J&K police named 3 alleged attackers, identified as Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists, Ashi Musa Alipai and Adil Hussein Thokar.
And they put a bounty on them.
A substantial one, 20 lakh each. That's about 2 million rupees per person. Shows they really wanted them found, dead or alive, presumably.
And what about local help? Were there accusations of people assisting them?
Yes, there were. Action was reportedly taken against alleged local aides. The names mentioned were Adil Thokar, one of the alleged attackers, and another individual, Asif Sheikh. Reports surfaced about their homes being demolished.
Demolished for allegedly helping the attackers.
That was the reported reason, yes, for providing assistance, logistics, that sort of thing, a very strong measure.
And the investigation. Did it point fingers beyond the immediate actors, specifically towards Pakistan?
It did. There were specific findings mentioned, alleging that one of the attackers, Adil Thokar, had received training across the border in Pakistan.
And that, predictably, must have seriously ramped up tensions between India and Pakistan.
Massively. India's reaction was described in reports as, well, unprecedented. The big moves were the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty.
The 1960 treaty, suspending that is huge. It governs water sharing for major rivers.
Exactly, a massive step. And alongside that, the closure of the Attari border post. That's a major land crossing.
So India essentially sealed the border there and put the water treaty on hold. How did Pakistan react?
Not well, as you can imagine. They reportedly labeled it an act of war, which is extremely strong language. It pushed tensions sky high.
I bet. The whole world must have been watching that very closely.
Intently. Any escalation between India and Pakistan is always a major international concern, given they're both nuclear powers. This situation became very, very tense.
So looking at the aftermath, back in Pahalgam, the fear must have been palpable, and the impact on tourism.
Devastating, you'd have to assume. Pahalgam relies heavily on tourism. An attack like this, especially targeting tourists, it leaves deep scars, creates fear. And this happened not long before the Amarnath Yatra season, too.
Right, the annual pilgrimage. That must have raised huge security concerns.
Immense concerns. But alongside the fear and the economic hit, the reports also conveyed a sense of, well, resolve from India.
Resolve against terrorism.
Yes. A message reportedly echoed from Srinagar up to Delhi that this kind of violence wouldn't break the nation's spirit.
That resilience narrative.
Exactly. And you had the Prime Minister's vow, paraphrased in reports, that those responsible wouldn't just be found, but tracked down and punished, wherever they might be. A very clear statement of intent.
So when we take this deep dive, look at all the pieces, it really brings home the tragedy. Those 26 lives lost in such a brutal way. And you feel for everyone injured, everyone affected.
Absolutely. It's a moment for national mourning, first and foremost. But it also, I think, highlights that spirit of unity, that resilience you mentioned, the determination to rebuild, to resist terror, and to try and reclaim that peace Pahalgam is supposed to represent.
It makes you reflect, doesn't it? On the one hand, the strength communities find even after something so terrible. But on the other, it throws this incredibly complex geopolitical issues right back into the spotlight. Terrorism, borders, historical disputes.
It really does. It's a stark reminder of how fragile peace can be in contested regions. And maybe for you, the listener, it sparks further thought. You could explore the deeper history of the Kashmir conflict, perhaps, or the economic impact on places like Pahalgam long term, or even dig into the details of something like the Indus Waters Treaty and why suspending it is such a monumental step. Lots to think about.